bit that I absolutely love. Walking through the herbs section of the garden right here in Osu, picking the choicest and freshest herbs you can ever imagine. Come join me in the masterclass and I'll teach you a simple trick to put together a centerpiece that's really handy when your friends join you for tea. Some basil, lots of mint, rosemary, a sprig or two, and of course some parsley. Thank you, come and join me now. Welcome to the 2020 Ghana Virtual Garden Flower Show. My name is Arabas Manika, and for the next 30 minutes, join me in my masterclass. Today we are going to be putting together, or I'm going to try and show you how to put together some of the things you have grown in your garden or things that you've been gifted. We'll start with a simple hand-tied bouquet. And so long as you can do a simple hand-tied bouquet, then you can pretty much make an arrangement in a vase, and you can make corsages, headdresses, using some basic tools. The tools that you will be needing would be your secateurs, which you have at home, hopefully, a knife, some floral tape, sellotape of course, a stapler, and some wire. There are different gauges of wire, but the thinner the better if you were going to be doing corsages or putting together bits and pieces or wrapping up individual pieces to put together a Christmas wreath, for example. There's also florist foam, which some people use so that you can keep your arrangement for longer, but trust me, you can work without foam. You can actually use any container you have at home, and the important thing is what you do to your flowers and your leaves before you use them. So if you are using this container, for example, you'd make sure that you'd clean them thoroughly with soap and water. The water that you put into the vase to carry out the arrangement should have some bleach in it, or your own mixture of aspirin, a bit of bleach or apple cider vinegar, and a teaspoon of sugar to perhaps a gallon of water. And that will stop bacteria from forming in the container, which means that your flowers will last for a good 7 to 10 days. Another important step is to make sure that your flowers are all cut at an angle to allow them to drink enough water. So as soon as you go out first thing in the morning, when the flowers had been drinking all night long and the sun's not up yet, is to cut them and put it straight into a container of water. But to cut, you need to use your secateurs or whatever tool you're using and cut at an angle which is about 45 degrees, which gives you a wider surface area for the plants to absorb water. A live demonstration would be a simple hand-tied bouquet using some carnations. So for this, our recipe, as I call it, will be your flowers, your leaves, and some ribbon to put it all together, and the rope. I'll just move this out of the way. The first thing is to put my green in the center, and I'll start working with the flowers. So you're going at an angle from right to left in the front, and left to right at the back. And that's basically all you're doing the whole time. And you can see that my thumb is holding it together with my fourth finger. Of course, if you're left-handed, you'd be holding it this way and picking your flower in this direction, and I'm not. And I'm not even going to try and pretend I'm ambidextrous because it doesn't work. So you continue, and as you work, you slowly move them around, say a couple of centimeters or a couple of inches. And you can see the effect we're getting already. This is a simple hand-tied bouquet, and you're getting a point at which you'll be tying, and you don't move from that. You stay right there where your finger, your forefinger and your thumb meet. And you keep looking to make sure you've got the flow. Inserting where necessary towards the middle. And you carry on and on, so you can go up, you can come further down. You're probably wondering what happened with the leaves. Basically, I cut that branch off and I turned each leaf around and I stapled it so that I had this curvature, so that the leaf itself is forming a flower. And there you have it. You already have a bouquet. The next stage is to tie it at the point where you've been holding the whole time, giving it the support, because you're going to be letting go. So this is when you're putting something together for a friend or a dear one as a gift. And you don't need to do much more than your leaves and a few flowers. And then you loop it and you tie it. Some people tie it upside down. I tend to put it on the edge of the table because it's easier. It could be really heavy, and you're double knotting. And you see it's right at that point. And there you have it. So you can shorten it, cut it to length, leave it long so that when they receive it, they can then cut it to the length of the vase. So here we have, imagine that went in there, and there you go. That's a bit long, so I would have cut it down short. But I'm going to reuse this for another arrangement, so I'm not going to be cutting it just yet. So I'll put that away for now. You probably see here in front of me these two heads, which are just styrofoam. And what I've done with them earlier was to use the same leaves you get from Christmas trees and then put them together as the skirt in this case, and as the hair in that one. So it's got the Christmas tree leaves, it's got these leaves straight from the garden, which again have been rolled. So basically, you have a leaf, you cut it at the 45-degree angle, you roll it, you pin it or you staple it, and you stick it in the foam and then create the design. And that is how you get this. You can embellish it. So here we have some butterflies, which also reminds me of the butterflies that are floating around in the garden this morning. And then good old monkey tail from when we were children, just to add to it. And this actually reminds me of 2020, where we're all having to wear masks, and we are wearing masks at the moment. I am not, because the crew are so far away from me, so it is safe, but I've been wearing masks the whole time. And this reminds me of 2020. I'll put here away, COVID-19. Same note, we have a similar one, which is masked lady. I'm not going to be moving her. So she has the pomade, she has her mask, which is more or less for a Mardi Gras or a party, which some of your children might be wearing to their end of year school proms or whatever, and you can make those. And that is made simply by sticking the fern leaves onto a mask and decorating it with some feathers. And all these are here in Accra. Creativity is around us, and I just work with nature. So what I see in nature is what I put together. And I get excited about everything. I mean, it's just living for me. And when it comes to colors, I mean, for example, in this, which is, it's not an email, it's a regular mail, snail mail design. I have these grown in Iburi here in Ghana, and I picked the leaf from crouton leaf from the garden because the colors in the ginger were all on the green, reddy, yellow side, and the leaves all have, I mean, nature tells you what to mix. So to get your recipe right, you just look at what nature's offering, and then you try and complement it. Inside of this is some oasis, a block of oasis, a really small amount. And all it is putting, that's how simple it is. Putting your oasis in there, cutting your ginger, placing it according to the lengths that you want them to, where you want them to be. The shorter ones nearly always in front. Nothing is wrong when it comes to design. So it's all about your taste. And it's just the smells as well. You can put together things that just make you happy. And if you're happy, then whoever you give it to will be happy too. So here you have the longest ones going out towards the outer end to extend the envelope or the container. And then the shorter ones coming in the front and saying hello. And that's another one for you. Enjoy. We're still on the gifts. You could probably be thinking about something to give to a dear one for Christmas. Or any other time. It doesn't have to be Christmas. So right here we have a box of some alcohol, and over on the other side you could put natural flowers. Again, or silk flowers, depending on what you are, but I prefer the natural. Good old secateurs. There's no right or wrong to this. And you place these next to the bottle. Let me put this here to support it, then you can see what I'm doing. We're not trying to change what nature has given us. We're going to use it to work for us. Now, and who wouldn't be happy to receive that as a gift? It's wonderful. You don't have to use flowers. You can use just greens. So same gift. Put this away for now. A beautiful fern leaf. All you need is one. Put it in there, measure up. Good old secateurs again. And there she goes, with a lovely little note from yourself, handwritten, right in there. A few flowers on the top, or not. And there you go, another gift. What more could you ask for? Some of you may find this pretty daunting because some of it might be quite advanced, but hey, you don't have to use fresh flowers all the time. You can pick up a bunch of flowers that are silk. It doesn't matter what they look like. You could mix them with natural leaves that would give it that je ne sais quoi. Is that real? Is that not? You have these silky ones, you have the foam, almost natural looking ones. And here you could create something as simple as this with silk flowers. Here is a box I made earlier together with the lid, and I thought, what better than putting together a box of flowers? And if it was natural, for example, when the flowers were no longer able to be used because they lived their time, you could get rid of them, and the person who receives the gift can use the box to put things in and remember you for a very, very long time. So we have simply a few silk flowers which I have cut back with the iron cutter. So you cut them off to the length that you want, and usually the length will be as deep as your container is or slightly shorter, depending on whether you want all the flowers to be inside or whether you want them to showcase and be a bit on the outside. And you then quite simply, because they're silk flowers, you need polystyrene or some sort of foam, something that's quite hard, that the metal in the middle of the silk flower can pierce right through and stay permanently. So you start with a box that's empty and then you fill it, and this is what I have on the inside. It's just styrofoam, but you place it in the container. It could be any shape, and then you push through the roses or whatever flower you have that is not fresh. Put this back where it came from. And it's as simple as that. So you're just pushing metal into foam and you've got a lovely gift, or something that you can use at home for yourself. We'll put that away. Still on the silk flowers, again, this is a wrist corsage which is made out of all silk flowers, and you can see it's a simple Velcro attachment which you buy. They sell them like this. And if you can't find them around, you don't need to buy this. This is really for natural flowers. So what I did was I folded over, or I cut them off, and then I had a flat surface from which I could work. If you haven't got time or you don't know where to find them and you have regular ribbon at home, you just measure out enough to go around the wrist and probably put some Velcro to attach it. You find the center bit, or elastic, whatever, something that will make it secure both ends so you can wear it, or an old bracelet that you have at home. So you take the old bracelet and all you do, assuming this is a bracelet, you start to stick the flowers on there. So good old glue gun comes into use, or Yoo-hoo. And I used Yoo-hoo in this case. So you just make sure you cover your worktop with a bit of plastic to stop the glue from messing up your worktop, and then you start. And when you're sticking your flowers in place, you don't stick them flat on. You put it in at an angle. So you have it, let's explain that. You have one going towards this direction and one going over in this direction. So what you're doing is you're layering them out. So they don't just sit right on top, but there's some movement. And then you can embellish it, use different size flowers, and that's how you end up with something like that. And that is absolutely wonderful for proms. So it's the recipes: 2-3 roses, a few bits of pearl that you can wire, or you can take off something that you have. Just recycle, reuse, keep it simple, and enjoy it. It's almost holiday season, and I'm sure some of us are feeling that we need to start getting ready. So I thought it would be a good idea to show you how to put together a basic wreath, which is made from leaves. You could also make them from ribbon, for example this, or just regular material. So you form a circle with some wire or wood, any solid material, and you wire bits of Christmas pine or any Christmassy hardy leaves together with wire that's as simple as this. So you have here, for example, one holding the reel in place, putting it underneath, and then twisting to secure it. Twist again to secure it. And then you cut some more. So lengths like so, about the size of your palm or bigger. But I think it's easier when you start to work with small pieces. That should do it. And that's what I've done throughout. So again, where the wire was, place an inch there, just on top of the wire. And then take your reel and work your way around it, securing it in place. It's almost like you're tying it in place. And yet another one underneath. And then wire that one underneath, and so on and so forth. Use your wire cutter, you cut off the excess, and that goes on throughout the whole circle that you're putting together. Then you start to embellish it. These are bows that I made before. And that's mesh, so it's pretty solid. So all you're doing is you're cutting probably an inch, a yard or a meter. Again, figure of 8, back and forth, back and forth. Scrunch it in the middle. Good old wire. And secure it. And there you have it. Another. And then you work that individual wire leg into the wreath. We've got the wire legs here into the wreath, over behind. The back's quite messy, but you can tidy that up or stick it against the door or the wall. Nobody gets to see it. I'd wired a few botanicals. These are pine cones. I'll show you how that's done. So you have yourself a pine, and you find them in our palm trees. They're tiny mini ones all around the house. You can go around picking it, give the children or the neighbors' children some work to do, give them a little bit of wire, and they'll just wire it around. And there you have it, ready to go in there in clumps and wire it in place. Probably 3 so that you can actually see what's going on. Oops, my apologies. And no placement is wrong because it's your creation. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, it's your creation. And again, you can use your old Christmas baubles. They've been bashed up, you put them away in a hurry, just put a bit of string in, probably keep to Christmas colors, or just go with what makes sense to you or what you actually love, and tie them in place. And before you know it, for the sake of time, I'm not going to do everything. You've got yourself a lovely Christmas wreath. Cut some fruit, dry them out in the hot sun, put it in place, wire it, and stick it in. And that's your Christmas wreath all done up. You can make it as big as you want or as little as you want. And there's your holiday wreath sorted. You have a hook at the back, and then you can hook that up on the wall. Okay, put that away. I actually do make some of these wreaths ready for you to decorate. So if you feel like cheating, or if you need that little help, I'll be there for you. One of the things I want us to put together now is either a presentation, bouquet, or a bunch of flowers, basically. I've had these for a few days, so they're pretty. Whoops. Old, but who says you can't use anything because it's old? The important thing is it's here, so go with that. Always lay out the flowers you're going to be using so you have everything prepared. You don't start working and suddenly find you need to look for something that you haven't got. So I have here 3, 6, 8 flowers. I need some leaves. One we used earlier. Whoops. I must admit, you don't always have to use flowers in any arrangement. You can just go with a bunch of greens or 3 shades of greens. So you have your palm, you have your fern, and something else that's quite small, green and white, whatever you have at home. And get yourself your container, cleaned with water, and there you go. You have yourself a beautiful arrangement at home. Who says you need flowers? If you've got lots of greens like we have here, you can just go with the greens. Add another shade of green, and it's a different style altogether. So this is what we're going to try and create, but wrapped up as a gift. So starting with the green, preparing the porcelain rose, like we did earlier on. Always make sure your flowers have been in water, drinking for a good 6 hours before you make a floral presentation, so that then they will last long and there'll be no air pockets in there. Okay. Flowers have a front and a back to it, and you can always tell. But depends on what you're working with. You can either show the back, or you can show it to the side, or you can show the front. You're always looking for a focal piece, something that is the main feature. In this case, I'm going to make the porcelain rose my focal. So I'm going to lift that so that it comes right up at the top, and then it can show off. Everybody can see her. So I have 3. And even with these, I wouldn't just use them up, so I'd open them up a little bit so that they can showcase the little flowers that show on the inside. And then you start to place your greens. Again, remove, oh, that smells beautiful. Just as I open that up. I wish you had smelly telly, then you would smell it. Then you put in your greens. And it's already creating this 3 posts of pink, showcase a circular movement. And you can see that the stems are going at an angle. This is quite difficult to showcase because they're very thick. And wherever I'm going to tie, I need to get rid of the extra leaves so that they're not in the way. Otherwise they end up in the water. Try putting together 100 red roses at Valentine. Oh my God. At the end of the day, you're like, ah. Well, the flowers will tell you when you can't grip anymore, and usually if they need more because it's a 100 rose bouquet, then you need 2 people. So at this stage, I'll pass it on to my colleague who will then hold it, and then I'll grab the cotton or the rope and tie at the tying point, and we put it down, and then we carry again, we pick it up. So for example, there's never like too much or too little. It doesn't matter if it's a single flower with a leaf wrapped up in cello, that's a wonderful gift, or whether it's a huge bunch. The fact that you're giving someone something is more than enough. So again, at this point, there's too much to hold, and I'm quite happy to tie it off. So I've got myself a loop because I'm working on my own, and I'm taking the loop round the back, making sure it's not hiding in the leaves, so I've got it right there, and I'm bringing the other tail end, putting it together like so, and that holds it tight. So I've got one string here, bouquet on the edge of the table, not flat to squash it down. Then you tie a knot. Get rid of the excess, so up to the length that you want. You can either have it in an aqua pack, so it's in water, so it doesn't matter when it arrives. It still would have been drinking the whole time. Or simply wrap it and send it as is. The aqua pack means we have to have some cello. At the bottom, and then you can put the water through and you've got your bouquet, and it's going to stand and it will be just perfect. So I think we'll go that way today. Just make sure it doesn't have a soggy bottom, like when you bake your pies and it doesn't quite bake properly because you didn't blind bake it. So you pull it tight You go back to the same point where you tied the bouquet on the inside. This is probably better vision for you. And we'll tie it again. These are some wraps I made earlier. So you can usually have the VV ends, which is when you fold it over into triangles, or quite simply, this, which gives you a more luxurious look. And just taping it in place. And trust me, it's extremely hot this afternoon. Then you put together the ends. So you could have up to, depending on how big it is, maybe 5 different pieces or one huge long piece. It's entirely up to you what you can work with and what makes it easier for you. Lots of tape. Then some ribbon. Doesn't matter whether you use paper ribbon or regular rayon or taffeta ribbon, grosgrain, you name it. It's entirely up to you. And you do all this work before you put water in, because clearly you couldn't put the water in and then lay it flat on the table. That wouldn't work. And making ribbons is a whole new art. And that's quite easy to learn as well, so it helps you finish off your product. Then you pour your water right down the middle, and you can see it going into the bottom, what I'll call the vase or the vessel that's holding the water, and the stems. And there you go. You could leave this in your house for 2 hours before you deliver it. So there you go. You have, oops, your hand tied, ready to deliver. Okay, this is what I do when I have friends round for afternoon tea. I think it's always great to have lots of herbs that you've grown at home showcased when they're around for tea. And I just grab my little pots, little terracotta pots, and put some sort of medium in, whether it's sand or whatever. In this case, I'm using Oasis that's been soaked in water for fresh flowers, because I'm going to use natural fresh herbs that I've literally just picked up from the garden. So here we have some basil. It's been cut. You can see at 45 degrees. I'll recut it and stick it right down the middle. I didn't have to clean the terracotta pots because they're new. And again, 45 degrees. And some mint. And the smell, that's what really gets me. It just makes you feel so good about, well, the naughty cakes that you'd be having. And if they don't use everything, of course you can give it to them as a gift. They can use it when they get home. Alternatively, they can literally set it into another pot and grow it. And they'll always remember where that came from. It's good to share. This is one of the few things that we'll be learning. And the great news is that the flower show doesn't end after this period. There's still lots of people who will be out there willing and ready to help you, whether it's buying plants, flowers, learning how to use them at home, or designing them into flora designs like I do. And there you go. There you have it. 2 little centerpieces for 2 special friends. Thank you. Right, these are the reasons why I love floral design. It's all about nature. There's no right, there's no wrong. You can put it together, keep it simple, make it elaborate. It's all about you. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon here in Osu, in our urban garden. And as I said during the masterclass, it's really ideal to keep things simple. We're only enjoying what we've grown in our own gardens or things that we've been gifted by friends. So after all the hard work we've put you through, we're here to have tea with our friends and loved ones. In the middle of the center of the table, we have some basil, which I've put together in mini pots. There's also some mint in the centerpiece for you all to enjoy. So here we go. All I have to say is cheers. Thank you for joining us.